Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Weekend Winners in association with BetVictor, and we have loads to go at this weekend. Of course, it's the final classic of the season, the Group 1 St Leger up at Doncaster. We're going to preview the pick of the action from Doncaster with all races live on Sky Sports Racing. As well as that, we also have the Irish Champion Stakes at Leopardstown and a cracking card at Woodbine on Saturday as well. So we're going international, aren't we, Rixie? Declan Rix joining me in the studio. On your Todd, though.
On me Todd, yeah, I think Sam's on his holidays, sunning himself in Greece. So, yeah, looking forward to a great weekend, though. It's been a good week already. Obviously, Doncaster was on Sky Sports yesterday on Thursday, so we got a bit of an indicator on ground and how the track was riding. So that will be useful. And then we've also got Irish Champions weekend as well. So, yeah, a mega week for the sport. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, cannot wait. Like you say, a huge weekend over in Ireland, over here, over in Canada as well. Yeah, you're dressed for the occasion, suited and booted.
Yeah, every now and again, yeah.
For a classic.
We will never stump you in the old-fashioned stakes, though, Katie, Tracey.
Oh, I know. I know exactly that. But, but who are we then to judge? But Rixie looking very smart. I wonder how Sam Boswell is looking, beaming in from Santorini. Sam Boswell, only you could bother to talk to us to preview such a cracking weekend of racing, but from your villa in Santorini, or should I say cave?
Yeah, it's a bit more cave, Kate. Villa's far too grandiose term. But yeah, having a good holiday. But I couldn't not be on the show after the Nap and Next Best went in last week. It's rare when that happens. So I had to turn up to make the best of it. And yeah, as you say, a great weekend of racing. A little bit more casual dress for me, a bit more Miami Vice than Declan Rich court case appearance. But we shall see. Let's try and find some winners, eh?
Oh, it's all character type, really, at the end of the day, isn't it?
I was trying to think maybe where the shirt was from. I think Miami Vice is a good fit, actually. Yeah.
He beat you to it. He knew exactly what you were going to say. So there you go. You can't bully him too much now. He's actually in a different country. But yeah, Sam, very well done for the nap last week. We agreed last week with our nap, so ideal there. See if we agree again then with this week's nap. So stay tuned for the end of the show to catch our best bets of this weekend. But before we get stuck into the action properly, a reminder, as always, please do gamble responsibly. Our tips are not guaranteed to win, but we will still do our best to point you in the right direction. Right, onto the action, and we begin with the 225 at Doncaster, the Portland Heritage Handicap for the 3-year-olds and over 5.5 furlongs. Nice competitive betting heat that we've got to start with here, Rixie, with Air Force One 5-1 heading the way.
Yeah, and I can absolutely see why. To be honest, I think he's well handicapped. He's kind of a non-winner without a penalty here, because we went really close at York last time out. I think on my own ratings, I think I've got him £6 well in. So if you wanted a back Air Force One, I can absolutely see it. But look, I think we've got 22 runners in here. There's pace right across the track. Loads have got chances. But I was just doing my own pace map there on the sections and whatnot. And while there is kind of pace literally from 1 to 22, I do think maybe from stalls 8 to the stand side rails where you want to be, middle to high looks a good fit. So the horse I'm with is Rosario, who is drawn in 16, I think. So good draw there for him. Now, he does tend to save maybe a little bit of his best work for Goodwood, and he does come here on the back of a Goodwood run. But 2 starts ago, this was at the Shergar Cup, and I say start because the start was criminally bad. Jockey Sir Aidan O'Brien didn't get the blind off in time. He got left behind, and I thought under the circumstances he ran quite well. To be fair to the jockey, he's not the easiest horse, and it's probably a skill we never talk about with jockeys enough, is actually getting the blind off in the stalls is a skill you need to be quite good at. Lots of these horses are flighty and whatnot, and he's clearly not easy. Even next time out at Goodwood, he was slow away again. But I just think a couple of things could be in his favour. Maybe this kind of 5.5 furlong trip will just give him a little bit more time to get into the race. But he's got a good pace set up as well. Also, a bit of softer ground, I think, will really suit him. And Tom Marquand is a strong jockey booking, because he can run around. I think you need to grab him up and get a hold of him. Tom will do that. Fewer, stronger jockeys in the way and run them in. And his only run here as a 2-year-old came in the Flying Childers a couple of seasons ago. second in a strong group race. Sorry, third in a strong group race. So there's lots to like about it. Will need a bit of luck. We have given the slow starting style, and he'll be coming from the rear. But I think he's overpriced, especially with the Roger Teal team in good order.
It's going to be interesting to see, isn't it? We saw a headwind yesterday on Thursday at Doncaster, but we still saw lots of horses stealing it from the front. But then you saw later races where you thought, OK, they've gone hard enough in front here. And they were really struggling. You could see they were running through treacle with a furlong to go then because of that headwind. So it's tricky to know. Maybe his slow starts, if we do have the pace on that we tend to expect in the Portland, if that will bring him into it, even if he does get that slower start, maybe just to check himself.
Yeah, there will be. There's a good bit of pace on here, I think. Don't know if we can get the betting back up and have a look, but there's Jordan Electrics, he'll definitely go forward. The other Jim Goldie horse in there, she'll go forward. The mare as well, Eternal Sunrise. Apollo 1 will go forward as well. So there is plenty of pace on there. And like I said, in my opinion, from stall 8 to the stand side rail in 22, that's ideally where you want to be drawn. I think horses drawn really, really low could struggle here. And I think the stats actually suggest that as well.
And Rosario, like you say, he does need a little bit of rest though. We saw that in the VT then, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. The old Tommy Marquand's going to need to be on his A game when the gates open, and then on his A game late to keep him straight because he can run around. But look, he's well handicapped on old form and he's got good track form here, like I said.
14-1. You're in the bar then, so a nice big price to kick us off with. Sam Boswell, 14-1. Rixie has laid down the gauntlet for you to go at now.
Yeah, let's find one at a much bigger price than Kate, but it comes with a caveat. I think Declan and yourself have alluded to the concerns around the draw, and I was looking through this race, and I know over 6.5 yesterday there were a couple of horses that were drawn low and still managed to go well. Over this trip, though, you do tend to want to be low, so I'm bucking that trend because I'm going to try and make a case for Tropical Storm here for Andrew Balding. One of those horses that you look through the form and it's duckhead, 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 and you kind of get quite concerned. But there are bits and pieces to suggest that those last 3 runs, that if you take them into context, the first Ascot effort at Royal Ascot was in really good company. It was 50-1, so you wouldn't have expected the horse to go particularly well. We're watching the horse here last year when finishing 4th at Doncaster, and this race looked to have mixed form messages, but you've got the likes of Big Mojo in there who finishes 2nd, and we're not too far away, and definitely went well over 5 at this track. But this season, as I said, since the win at York, the wheels kind of came off, but was in better company at Royal Ascot. Then absolutely blew out when second favourite for the Whispering Angel handicap at Ascot once again over 5. Went up in trip to 6 at York, and if you watch the replay of the York race, just gets checked at a really key time. So I think you can put a line through that. As a result, what we're running off here, a mark of 99, I think could be well treated. Be interesting to see how the horse goes from that draw, which is going to be a bit problematic, but I'm hopeful can gravitate across to where the pace is, kind of in that middle section. Declan's mentioned a few in there that could potentially give Tropical Storm a toe into the race. I just feel it's one that could potentially outrun his price if he's able to overcome that draw down in 7.
28-1 as well. So I did say, Rixie, that's
can you trump him? Yes, I can. Double the price.
Yeah, literally, he's got exactly double that. Yeah, 28-1 then for Sam's selection. I thought I was being original with my each way selection then for this race. Not quite so much now. The ground's going to be interesting though, and Sam's selection actually has. For all that, I was concerned when I looked at Tropical Storm to start with, and I thought, oh, quick ground. Is he really going to like it? But he's a half brother to Puro Sangue, who we know does appreciate a bit of cut. Also his dam as well. There was soft ground form in there. However, I still left him to one side. Aberama Gold, he's not flashy. He's not a sexy profile of a horse, but he's consistent. He comes here in good form and is likely to give his running. He's got a nice high draw in 17 as well. So I'm hoping Aberama Gold can back up his success from last time out. He went back to the all-weather. Now, this was at Southwell. Class 4 handicap over the 6 furlongs. Now, he is sporting the green of Team Ireland. This was a racing league contest. So so we've had all sorts of, Shergar Cup form that we've been chucking at everyone. Now at Racing League form, but he's also at 14-1 in the darker green hat that he's sporting in this one. He's a funny horse though, because he does take a little bit of knowing to be able to time his run to perfection, but he was perhaps lucky enough this day to beat the eventual runner-up Havana Rum into 2nd. However, this was still backing up his air success 10 days prior to win off top weight. So he's been given a £4 £12 rise. Remains well treated on his best form, though, off this rating of 87. Same mark that he actually ran in this race off last year. Only finished 15th of 22, admittedly. Didn't make much of an impact, to be fair, but he's actually coming into this race in better form this time around, though, than last. So he might just be able to sustain that form. He's not fashionable. He's an 8-year-old. He's had 97 runs to his name, but he's just overpriced.
Lightly raced?
Lightly raced, exactly. Lightly raced for his age. Yeah. He's just a consistent, likeable type who comes here in good form, and he's got a decent draw to boot as well. So I just thought, why not just play with a straight enough bat, sort each way.
To be fair, it's a bit of self-harm again kicking off the show this week. Just a 22-runner handicap, like so.
No, yeah.
Honestly, I think I had a short list of 7 that I kind of narrowed it down to. So. We'll see. Hopefully one of us gets the winner.
We've all gone double-figure prices, so there you go. I mean, Sam was for the biggest price of all of them, but hopefully not on the day itself. Do let us know in the comment section below who you fancy for the Portland. Right, on to the 3 o'clock now. The Group 2 Park Stakes for the 3-year-olds and over 7 furlongs. Shadow of Light, the market leader. What do we do with him? Billy Loughnane picking up the ride this time around, Sam, but at 7-4, play or lay for you?
I think it's my inner bookmaker coming out here, Kate, because I was desperate to take on Shadow of Light. And it's not to crib the horse or suggest that he's no good. Obviously, there's a lot to like about his chances. Trainer banging form, as we'd always expect, really, with Charlie Appleby. What is he, a 40% strike rate at the moment? He was such a good 2-year-old, wasn't he? But you have got some things that just nag a little bit at you, don't you, I suppose? And yet to have his head in front this season, albeit he competed in some really tough races. He's had a bit of a break, hasn't he, coming off 70 days. I just felt like taking on the elders here. At the prices, I wondered if it's one just to leave to the side. And I wanted an each-way play against him in case he turns up and bolts up, which he could well do. I kind of wanted to find an each-way angle. I was doing a bit of a rain dance this week because I was desperate for soft ground when it comes to this horse, which is going to be room service for Kevin Ryan. His record here at Doncaster is absolutely fantastic. 2 from 2, both coming in soft ground. I think there's a lot to like about this horse. He's obviously got to carry the 9-6 here, which isn't ideal, but we'll take the replay of him back at Doncaster on Town Moor winning. And this race is quite interesting because there's a few of the contenders in the race tomorrow that we're seeing on screen here as well. And he obviously gets the best of them. He will need to take a step forward. Listen, this season his best result was probably that effort at York when finishing second to Quinault. But there was something I kind of picked out from his form, which is I wonder if he's just a bit of a home bird in terms of he may not travel too well. If you look at where all his best results have come, they're pretty much from what I would describe as local tracks from the trainer. He went to Ireland last time out and finished down the field. That was disappointing. But even when he's gone up to the likes of Ayr and places like that and Newbury, he's not run particularly good races. Any northern track he seems to excel at. So I don't know if there's something in that. Maybe I'm over-reading into it. But he's a horse I like. Obviously, on terms here, it's going to be difficult for him. If we get any kind of rain, that'll be a benefit to him. The only other thing I did wonder, is it a bit of a tee-up to go back to Ayr for the Gold Cup? So potentially that could be on his radar. Keep an eye on how he runs. But I thought he was an each-way play against the field, especially if we get a few showers that look like they might be around at Doncaster on Saturday.
It's all well and good you doing a rain dance when you're currently sat in Santorini. We're the ones who have to deal with said rain dance here. Back in old Blighty, for all that I know I'm not dressed for the occasion, I'm like clinging on to summer for dear life.
I don't know if you saw the shower that hit Donny yesterday. That absolutely
Alex Hammond and Seb
and Jamie.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, they got pelted, didn't they, then, with the rain there yesterday. So, yeah, when it's raining at the minute, it just seems to be coming down in flurries, doesn't it? So, Sam, yeah, you're missing all of that at the minute. It pains me to say. But I'm glad, though, that we look back at your VT for room service. Well, I say glad. Not glad at the same time, because 10 Bob Tony didn't exactly run up to form in that listed contest, and that was at Doncaster, of course, over the 6 furlongs. But he just looked flat to the boards in that. And you know me and my 7 furlong contests. I absolutely adore them. That's why it slightly pains me about this race, because I found it a bit meh. Like, I haven't just got that 7 furlong specialist to be able to go at in here. Shadow of Light, I don't know what trip he actually wants. I still don't know. And again, we're still trying to find it. But that's why I love 7 furlong contests, because you get those specialists. It's not horses that kind of stumble across it as such. So I'm going to park him to one side, stick with 10 Bob Tony. You won't miss him. He's so distinctive looking, isn't he? And the fact that I'm hoping he's going to work himself, I know I sound like a bit of a hypocrite here, into the 7 furlong specialist though, because of course we saw him winning at Haydock, the Group 3 John of Gaunt Stakes over the 7 furlongs, beating the 7 furlong specialist himself. Kinross in that as well then. So he did win on his reappearance last year. So he is going to have to prove that he can back that up on the back of the gelding operation prior to that reappearance start. Last season he didn't back it up, but admittedly though, that was in the 2,000 guineas. He finished 8th of 11 that day. 40 to 1 shot though. I wouldn't draw too many conclusions into that by any means. Bit of cut in the ground is important to him, so I'm just hoping we can continue to see more from him on the back of that gelding operation. So I'll see with sort of intertwining form lines there, even though I'm disregarding it to a large extent, but all the same. Dec, who's going to win the 7 furlong contest?
Well, I think obviously the market suggests the most likely winner is Shadow of Light, isn't it? And
yeah, it's the classiest.
Yeah,
horse,
and
but...
you know, I was a little bit worried. I don't think he's kind of over big horse kind of coming into the season, and I was worried how well he trained on. But he ran a screamer in the Guineas, and to be this, if he doesn't win this race, you know, they're probably going to be disappointed. If, in all honesty, 7 furlongs cutting the ground is exactly what he wants, and he's going to get loads of pace to run at in here. You know, 10 Bob Tony won't be too far away. Quinault will definitely go forward. Marvel Man, Devil's Point. There is a mountain of pace on here. It will be a good race, but I'm going to stick with a 3-year-old and Andrew Bowling and Oisin Murphy in Marvel Man. Right, really like this horse. Got a tremendously high cruising speed. A lot of like the way he's got lots of natural pace, and this is him running in the Hungerford. Now this was a big career best for him. Again, this was another strongly run race, and he laid up really well this day. Now he was no kind of a match for the winner late, and obviously Witness Stand in the far side had a penalty to carry. And you know, there's probably just still an element of him that's maybe a little bit big in a week, and you can see there he actually carries his head quite high, maybe typical son of Invincible Spirit. Some of them do that, and it's actually funny he doesn't wear a sheepskin noseband, because a lot of Andrew Balding's do, and he does carry his head high.
He actually would need it.
So I'm wondering now, kind of given the way he moves and how he carries his head, I'm just wondering, is he been screaming out to run on ground with a little bit of cut in it? And he's finally going to get that here. Look, I even think he could be a better horse next year, but I can see Quinault going forward, and I'd love Oisin just to stick him up the backside of Quinault, get cover into that headwind. Meanwhile, all the horses out the back are getting out of their ground, not running on, and Oisin gets a nice clear run into that headwind and goes and picks up the pieces late. So yeah, it's going to be Marvel Man for me, progressive 3-year-old from a top yard. Does carry that head a little bit high. Hopefully there's nothing in that, but I'll be backing him each way, and I will also be backing him without Shadow of Light.
Oh, okay then, in the without market.
Yes,
of course.
So right, like,
why am I sounding surprised? Of course you are. It's you.
So listen to this, right? Every now and again, I ask Sam, "Can we get a betting without market? I don't want to back this favourite at even money. Everyone will put him up." And Sam's like, "Oh, man, can't do that." He goes on holiday this week. I didn't even request a market, and it's there. So you are the issue, Boswell. You are the issue, my friend.
Yeah, clearly all my fault, Declan. Enjoy that betting without market. There is just one we should give a mention to, and I think this wins the most interesting entry of the week, which is Zabil Al-Khair, who arrives here after just the one run at Lingfield, but winning over 7. I mean, I just think this is really curious placement of a horse, and you won't find a trainer in better form at the moment than James Tate, who's absolutely flying. So I don't know, I can't make a strong case for the horse, but I just thought it was a really curious entry. Tom Malquan doing the steering as well, and I think it's the outsider at around 50 to 1, 66 to 1 by Wootton Bassett. Maybe one to just pop in your tracker. Just really interesting horse to be pitched in here. I thought was certainly the deep end on just your second start.
Boswell absolutely loves a once-race James Tate trained horse. Didn't you put up his juvenile in the scenario a couple of weeks ago as well?
Didn't go too well.
You know why, though? Not by Night of Thunder, owned by Saeed Manana. There you go, then. There's been 2 other parts of a Holy Trinity that we're missing from a James Tate trained once, raced a runner, intriguing runner all the same. And he's managed to deflect your shade really well there, actually, by just making a whole different point as well. Yeah, so nicely done, Sam.
Sun is treating him well, isn't it?
Isn't it just? Again, really intriguing contest, though, all the same. Now we move on to the main event of the weekend. Comes up at 3:40, the Group 1 at St. Leger, the final Hill Classic of the domestic season. Really excited to see these 3-year-olds over the mile 6. Just for 7 runners, though, which no doubt Sam Boswell will be very pleased about. But Aidan O'Brien, chasing a 9th success, has 3 in the field, Dec.
Yeah, 7 runners. Aidan's got 3, and they actually had, I think there was 8 horses in at the 5-day stage, wasn't there? There was another horse of Aidan's in there called Saratoga, and I was hoping he'd run just to maybe put a bit of pace in the race. So this race is a little bit trappy. I know Lambourne has gone forward in the past, but will they ride him as aggressively up and trip on kind of ground with Cutted? I'm not too sure.
He's proved himself as a dual Derby winner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it'll be the other thing is as well. 2 other points. It's good. It can be really interesting to see how the market goes with Aidan's 3, just to see where they all stand. And the final point is Sean Levy won this race for Ballydoyle last year, or Jan Bruegel. Obviously got a strong connection to Ballydoyle. He was apprenticed there going back years ago. His dad rode out there. I think his mum still works at Ballydoyle. So he's got a strong connection. I wonder, did Sean have a choice here? I don't know. Yeah. I really don't. But it would be nice to know. You'd think given Sean delivered them the St. Ledger last year, Jan Bruegel, he'd have the first choice, especially given his history there. But maybe that's a question for maybe our on-track team on Saturday to find out. I'm assuming Aidan's the boss. He calls the shots. That'll be that. But it'd be interesting to know. Anyway, I'm going to keep it simple in this race. I'm just going to go with Scandinavia. Really likeable horse. We're going to watch him, his run in the Queen's Vase there, which is obviously a very important race in the context of this race. I think 4 of the 7 runners, as we just highlighted there, are going to run. And you can see him there drawn a little bit wider than ideal. The bend in the Queen's Vase comes up quite quickly here. But look, for quite a big horse, I thought he showed some really good early pace here to grab a nice position in a race that was really strongly run. This was a race that tested stamina to the max. If you didn't stay here, you were in trouble. And in that context, this was a nightmare run for Scandinavia. 3 wide going into Swinley Bottom with no cover, and it gets worse. 4 wide into the straight, and you know this is this is a nightmare run. So look at further. He's got a lovely run on the inside with covering the less ground, and this is him now kind of hitting the 2-pole. Now I watched this at the time, and it looks like he's nearly going to be, you know, finished closer to last year. And he rallies really strongly, and I wonder if he's still a bit green, still a little bit raw. Maybe he was having a big look at the lovely stand there in Ascot, and eventually he's like, oh, you want me to go in? And then he runs on really strongly late. And I think given the trip he had, you know, given he sat quite close to that strong pace as well, you know, I think you've got to upgrade the form. But they put cheek pieces on him next time out in the Bahrain Trophy, and I think it really concentrated his mind. He ran straight as a die that day, and then he brought his form to an even higher level, winning the Goodwood Cup. Now, look, I know as a 3-year-old, weight for age over that kind of trip, he was getting an awful lot of weight, but he looked in great order that day. He took a really strong hold with Wayne Lorden earlier. He was actually hampered, I think, by Trushan, who went wrong in the race, and you know, he quickened really well with a horse with Illinois. You know, coming into the season, we probably would have thought was one of Aidan's kind of more stronger, older horses. So to beat him, and Sweet William, who was in 3rd, who's going to run today, so keep an eye out on that form. For me, that is marginally the strongest form. I think I've got him on a rating of 116 for that, and I've got Lambourne on 115. So under that scenario, you could honestly say that Lambourne is maybe a little bit overpriced. But I just like the fact he's a proven stayer. I like he's had 1 less race than Lambourne as well coming into the year, and he's a big son of Justify out of Fabulous, I think, is the mare. Everything about him suggests he's getting better, and I just hope that he can step forward again for Tommy Marquand. I'm hoping Tom has a good day, clearly, with Rosario and Scandinavia. And I'm going to finish my segment with, I'm hoping Scandinavia can finish first.
I was thinking the way that your kind of cadence changed there. I was like, what pun has he got lined
lovely,
up?
Yeah, I like it.
I don't even know what I just said, to be honest, but you know what you said.
Cadence, my gait, yeah.
Yeah, there you go then. But yeah, that didn't it? It felt like a Sam Boswell.
It looks like she's going to get sick in her mouth. That was so bad here.
My producer Ben has just told me that was a Sam Boswell type of pun, and it very much was a Sam Boswell type of pun, that was. But Tom Marquand, of course, has ridden Scandinavia before, though. I will ask you, though, is he a cup horse, or is he actually a cup horse, but you need a cup horse to win a St. Ledger over a Masters?
So you're a little bit worried about the drop in trip?
Yes.
I can see
that. Is he just that impressive over a proper trip?
But I think even kind of getting to these middle distance staying horses, a lot of these horses are probably still a little bit weak, might be even better next year. The fact that we know he stays, and everyone says the Ledger is a mile 6. It's actually mile 6, and extended mile 6. It's a little bit further. And the way he latched on with Wayne earlier in the Goodwood Cup suggests to me he'll have no problem dropping in trip and staying. And if it is a headwind, again on Saturday, which I think it is forecast to be, that's going to make it into more of a war of attrition, which will suit him.
Okay, there you go. I deflected back.
Yes, a lot of deflecting back in the show.
I know, there has been. I know, even across countries. Who knew it? Sam, it's been fascinating on the jockey booking front, but perhaps because Tom Marquander's ridden Scandinavia before, maybe that's why. But how much were you trying to read into the jockey bookings?
Yeah, it can drive you mad, can't it? So I'm going to park the jockey booking things and just speculate a little bit on why these prices are at the moment where they are. Let's not forget that we do see now significant changes, especially at head of betting, especially in these big races. And Lambourne, I'd ask this question to you both. If he hadn't run at York and if he'd been kept fresh for this potentially with a view to another run after, would he not be favourite? Do we not think the market has overestimated just how disappointing that effort was at York in the Voltigeur? Because if you read the quotes afterwards, and it's after the event, Aidan very much is of the opinion he needed to get a run into him. That effort at York came after a bit of a break. He'd obviously won 2 derbies in quick succession. And listen, the derby might not be the race that we all hope it is, but he still won it. He's still going into that race. He'd only been beaten by Delacroix, who we're going to talk about in Ireland for the Champions race in a moment. I think he's got excellent claims, and I really wouldn't be surprised. I don't think this is a bold shout to say that you could well see them potentially move in the market to at least be very close, if not flip-flop, and Lambourne goes off favourite potentially. I don't think that's the maddest thing I'll ever say. For me, I'm going to side with Lambourne. I think that one run, for all I respect Scandinavia, I think he is an improving type. I think Lambourne over 1 mile 6 here could really be the key. I'm a big fan of him. I think he's a great horse. Watching him here at Chester, he's got a good attitude. He's hardy, he's tough. He's everything you'd want, I'd say, in a Ledger type. And I'm willing to put a line through that run. If he hadn't run there, he'd be going off short price favourite here for me. The other thing we should just mention, and I'm going to reference who I've stolen this quote from, which was Kitty Trice, which is, stay true, Galileo, it'd be his last runner in a classic, I believe, which is quite an interesting... I tipped this horse up at Lingfield to win the trial he ran in, and Richard Kingscote, I don't know, maybe wasn't the ride of the day, let's put it like that, against Puppet Master. He was equally disappointing again since, but I wouldn't be shocked to see him outrun his price at 8-1, and it'd be nice, wouldn't it? Bit of an angle in there. But for me, I'm going to stick with Lambourne. You wouldn't be shocked, would you, if Aidan has the 1, 2, 3 here?
I'm so pleased that you pointed that out. That's actually something that escaped me completely, and it's such a huge storyline. Yeah. So I'm pleased that Sam flagged that up.
There was a horse that actually won in France yesterday called Nighttime as well, and I think Nighttime was Galileo's first ever Group 1 winner, trained by Dermot Weld.
Bit of synergy then, back for his final proper classic
generation. And I think Nighttime might be the dam of Gaiath as well along the way.
Oh, so wow, goodness me. Yeah. I mean, I'll take your word for that. So there you go.
Yeah, probably talking absolute rubbish as usual, but I think I am right about Nighttime anyway.
But yeah, really nice storyline there to go at. But Sam, I'm with you on Lambourne here. He is so straightforward. He is so likeable. He just reminds me of a national hunt horse, which Cornwall will not thank me for saying out loud, but I can't wait for his progeny to be going over jumps. Can't wait then for one day, because, and I mean this genuinely as a massive compliment, because he is so straightforward. He is so big and powerful. He stays. And I know that we're talking about Scandinavia and how he's going to see out the trip. I still think that Lambourne will improve for a step up in trip as well. So
I remember this work got me to write a piece for the Derby, I think a week or two before the Derby, and I was like, no, Lambourne can't have him in the Derby. Doesn't look quick enough. Looks a Ledger horse. So
yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah, go back on your word now. Now abandoning him at this point.
I was eating my words tremendously well.
Yeah, and it was interesting, wasn't it, when we saw him in the Chester Vase, or Vase, as you say now. Have I not realised how you pronounce that word this whole time?
Like me pronouncing the River Thames and the River Thames.
There's literally no debate over that. But
yes,
anyway,
I know. Yeah.
And it is Vase also as well. Then, but yeah, that day he was suited.
All right, you might be Queen of Weekend winners, but don't be getting all posh on us now with your Vase.
Oh, trust me, we know I'm not posh. Trust me about that one. Over the mile 4 when he stepped up in trip that day. coming that bit wider, didn't he, to win easily that day as well. And he broke that hoodoo of the chests of ours, because previously we had only seen one of Aidan's previous 10 winners of that race going on to win the Derby itself. So he bucked that trend at Epsom, therefore, proving it was no fluke at all in the Irish Derby. Now, as we say there, he wasn't as good last time out at York. But when you look at it, the fact that it's York, it can be a law unto its own. He was carrying a Group 1 penalty. He was beaten 3 lengths. Pride of Arras is just a horse who is bizarre. Comes good at York, apparently, as soon as it then suits him as well. So I can easily be forgiving of that. And he just looks like he has plenty of stamina for this trip. Bit of cut in the ground. These are surely optimal conditions for him.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned stamina there, because I'm pretty sure the Great Voltigeur was quite tactical in parts early on.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I don't think Aidan wanted those horses to all have really kind of hard races to leave a mark for the ledger. It was all basically all used as a prep to team up for tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go. You're almost convincing yourself round. I can tell. I can tell. So Lamb won for the pair of us two, but you're sticking firm with Scandinavia and
hoping
Tom Marquand
first.
Right, come on, Sean Levy. There you go. Then win the St. Ledger 2 years in a row. But a fascinating classic as always. Do let us know in the comment section below who you fancy it for the St. Ledger. Now we switch over to Leopardstown. Irish Champions weekend this weekend, and the Irish Champions Stakes takes centre stage for Group 1 contest for the 3-year-olds and over 10 furlongs on Saturday at 5:30. Delacroix is currently the favourite, aiming to give Aidan O'Brien a 13th win in the race. So Sam, can he do it?
Yeah, I mean, first things first, we've probably got to get our little bit of a jibe into John Gosden. A real shame that connections there have bottled it a little bit. Because I
think Matt Chapman got enough of a jab in there yesterday. I think he had about 4 horses in the race, and he was only teasing, but he got the dig in there already.
not as big a dig as Aidan's got him a whinger.
yeah, exactly. To be fair, Aidan had the last word. Sorry, Sam. Apologies. Please continue.
Well, but, you know, it would have been nice to see them reoppose, but that's kind of where my focus came down on, that the 3-year-old Delacroix would be good enough to win this. You know, if you look back through what was the last, we've got to go back to 2020 for the last non-3-year-old to win this, and, you know, Aidan's record in it, Luxembourg, Auguste Rodin, you know, he knows what he's doing with running these younger horses here, and I'm really excited to see what he can do. And it's taken me probably wrongly a little while to warm to this horse, but I do think there's substance to him and his form. I think this looks an excellent opportunity, and you know, I do just think we probably do need to forgive horses, and the Derby sometimes it just isn't the making of them in Epsom, and we know that now. And obviously when he went to Sandown, and you know, Ryan was great that day, wasn't he? And even the second to Ombudsman looks a good run in terms of the context of what he's going to deliver here. And I kind of went through some of the old horses. A big fan of Amnat. I think he's rightly in there as second favourite, but you know, White Birch coming off, you know, over 111-day break. Shin Emperor was third in it last year. Maybe could outrun his price, but again, I just don't like horses that haven't been seen too recently. You know, Delacroix is clearly tough, takes his racing well. You know, it's a big ride for Christophe Soumillon, obviously on a huge weekend for him. Fingers crossed it can go well, but I think he's, you know, one of the best you could really get in terms of replacing Ryan, looking around. And I'm really excited to see what he can do, and I just felt at 6-4, I was happy to take that. I think that's a fair price, and I'm not sure there's as much depth in this as we've seen in previous years in terms of how competitive the race is.
There you go then. Right, this is going to be a bit of a theme of this weekend, is you and I both agreeing, because we are both with Delacroix here, and I am siding therefore against Sanmart. He better not make me regret this, Delacroix.
Yeah, you're a bit of an Amber.
I love him.
Fangirl.
Oh, I side with him seemingly every single time he runs. So, yeah, I will personally hold it against Delacroix if he makes me regret siding against my beloved Anmart here. But I just fear Anmart giving away this weight to Delacroix in here on this occasion, given the fact he's got that course and distance winning form to his name as well, with those 2 Derby trials over this track and trip. Yes, he was oh so disappointing at Epsom, but we know what that track can do to certain horses. And yes, it is the ultimate test of a racehorse, and he didn't rise to that. Doesn't matter though, because he's probably never going to go back there again now in his life. So this track is way easier, as we know. And his success at Sandown in the Group 1 Coral Eclipse was something else. For all that I was with Ombudsman that day, I have to admit it still would go down probably as my favourite flat race of the season so far. It was just mental. It was chaos.
It was mental.
Oh, it was so good though. Like I just, you had to watch it back however many times. It was such a good race. And for all that this rivalry has been so much fun to watch between him and Ombudsman, and it is a shame that we don't get to see it again. Ombudsman, of course, exacting his revenge at York, but I still think these are the best 2 10-furlong horses currently about at present. Therefore, if one of them doesn't run, I'll side with the other one. So Delacroix for the pair of us two then, Rick. So you're going to join?
I'm not. No, I'm happy to take him on at the prices, Delacroix. It'll be interesting to see how the race has run because Ballydoyle have got 2 in there. It looks like they've got a potential maybe pacemaker in Kilimanjaro. And, I don't see an awful lot of pace near the Japanese horse, Shin Emperor. He can go forward, but he's not kind of an end-to-end galloping type. Anmat's a closer. Zaran's a closer as well. White Birch, the same. Royal Champion might push forward with Hot as Hell, but I wouldn't say any of those are natural front runners. And, I can't get out of my mind after the eclipse that Ryan Moore and Aidan both said, Delacroix would be comfortable dropping down to a mile. So I just cannot see Mount Kilimanjaro going forward and making this an end-to-end test. I think he might go forward and give Delacroix a lead, and then they'll try and turn it into tactical and try and win it that way. But look, I'm happy to bet him at the price. I was a little bit disappointed with him in the Judmont Delacroix, but I went back and watched the race. I don't think he was anywhere near his best. Ryan was at him early. Even though he had cover and the pace wasn't strong, he was just kind of sitting into him. And I'm just a little bit worried now about him on the back of that. It looked like he was feeling the effects of the eclipse to me. But look, I'm happy to take him on at the prices. The other thing as well, we should mention that ground at Leopardstown is going to be proper soft, flat ground. So I'm not sure that will suit him either, although he did run well in the Futurity and Soften. It's finally going to suit White Birch.
Finally.
Who is like, he's the modern day Lamato, isn't he? It's like every time he's entered, it's like, oh, is he going to run? No, the ground's too quick. He's out. He's a non-runner. Yeah. He's going to run on Saturday and he's finally going to get his ground. We shouldn't forget, this horse ran a cracker in a derby behind a Gus Roden once upon a time over a trip that probably stretched him. He was third that day. And, I just think 10 furlongs ground with cutting it is really his bag, and he did run well at the Irish Champions Weekend a few years ago as a 3-year-old over 12 furlongs. But this trip is going to suit him. Now, look, need a bit of luck, as Sam correctly pointed out. There's a few in here who haven't run in a while, but the Joseph Murphy team are having a good season. The other thing I'd mention as well is, and it gives me a little bit of confidence, is TJ Comfort is what used to be one of Aidan O'Brien's right-hand men. He was leading up. Who was the filly of theirs that won the Coronation Stakes, Sarcenia?
Yeah, something like that.
Yes, I butchered that name.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really interesting that TJ Comfort, he might be giving the Murphys a hand, and he's a brilliant horseman. He was at Ballydoyle for years. I'm hoping TJ will be part of the team there can get this horse home. I just thought at the prices, I would rather back him at 8. And Matt was second on my list, but given there wasn't much between them in the Tattersalls Gold Cup earlier in the season, when White Birch had a horror run through, I was going to side with the Joseph Murphy horse.
Oh, there you go then. I mean, those stills were just perfect, weren't they? Grey horse just splattered in mud. He loves mud. So, he's going to finally get his ground. It would just be good to see him because he's just a horse where we all really, really like him, know how talented he is. But, of course, we don't really get to see him. But Connections are doing the right thing by the horse.
Yeah, I think
he needs his conditions.
And to be fair, this summer has been probably the best summer we've had.
Not for White Birch, but it's been great for the rest of us.
Not for great, yeah. And maybe kind of after that kind of interrupted preparation, just keep an eye on the market and see what the market's thinking. I think he is overpriced currently, but it's all well and good putting up horses that are overpriced if they're not ready to run.
There you go then. There you go. So a bit of disagreement again, but Sam and I teaming up at least. Again, do let us know in the comment section below your fancies. Also, whilst you're there, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification as well so you never miss an episode. Right, that is the British and Irish racing covered for now at least anyway. But of course, we have top class international racing all across the world, including in Canada at Woodbine. The Grade 1 Woodbine Mile sees a notable speech going for the race, and of course all the racing at Woodbine will be live on Sky Sports Racing. We have sent Luke Elder over to Woodbine to look at the action, and here is his report and preview for us.
Hey Weekend Winners team, welcome to Toronto. Weekend Winners is on tour. We're going to go into a few selections for the Woodbine Mile card, and that's just the view from my hotel room. You want to have a look? All right then. I know this is going to annoy the director, but How is that for a hotel room view? That is Woodbine. You will note that there are horses on the track. You can't really see them. There's one of the outriders at the moment. But that does bring you on to a pretty key piece of information. Obviously, the Woodbine Mile is normally run on the outer turf track. Woodbine is the only track in North America where the turf track is the widest of the lot. That's closed. So they're running it on the inside track. That is a far, far tighter track than the other one, effectively. So it will be a slightly different race. But let's go through a few selections. And let's start in the Woodbine Mile. Just keep it simple. Notable Speech is probably the best horse in the race. Nay is the best horse in the race. His Breeders' Cup form would be good enough to win this. He was very good last time around, albeit a touch unlucky in France. A little earlier on than a Talma. I think Chad Brown could get a rare Woodbine winner. Not a track that he does overly well at. Don't think he's had a winner here for the last couple of years, but he's got deep learning in the Natalma. Was very impressive on debut over at Saratoga. This, hopefully, will be a stepping stone. And then the Canadian champion, she runs in the Matron. That's Caitlin Her Greatness, who was well beaten last time around in much better company. I think with the return of Lay 6 on the return to the Tapeta surface, that's going to be a big help. So Caitlin Her Greatness can take the Matron. That's 3 selections for the night. You can get 5 of them on the At The Races website. And of course, we're going to be live on track Saturday night, myself, Luke Elder, alongside Peter Fonatal on Sky Sports Racing. I'm going to go out there. See you guys.
Yeah, big thank you to Luke for his preview there. And I hope that you're having the best time out in Canada, Luke. Not jealous whatsoever. We've got Sam and Santorini, got Luke out in Canada as well, but hugely looking forward to watching the action. And as a reminder again, that you can watch all of Woodbine's action live on Sky Sports Racing. But for Declan and I, it's time to head over to the Sky Pad to give you our best bets of this weekend. Rixie, you're up first.
Right, I'm going to go to Doncaster. I'm going to go into my favourite betting without market. It's going to be Marvel Man for me, without shadow of light, in the Park Stakes. Really progressive son of Invincible Spirit. I think he's going to be better with a bit of juice in the ground, and he's a really high cruiser. He's got loads of natural pace. Hope Oisin Murphy sticks him up the backside of Quinault, gets him covered up into that headwind and comes and picks off the pieces late. The next best then is going to be Botanical, who runs in a handicap in the 450 on Saturday for George Bowie and Billy Loughnane. Look, it's going to be tough off a rating of 106 top weight, but there's not a load of progressive sorts in this handicap, and he has been rated higher. He's got course form, but I think the big key thing to him really is that the Bowie team are now starting to fire on all cylinders, so he will do for me. And the long shot we've also discussed, that's going to be Rosario in the Portland. Tom Arquon's going to need to be on his A game, getting him away on terms with the hood, but he's well handicapped on old form, and the one time that he did run here at the track, he finished third in a group race. So those are the 3 losers this week.
There you go then. And Tom Arquon fanboy, big time this weekend as well.
Go on, Tommy, bring home the bacon, son.
There you go. Yeah, in case he's watching, then there you go. There's your extra incentive and impetus, Tom Arquon. Sam, your turn. Who's your napper this weekend?
Yeah, great action across the weekend, and we're going to kick off in Ireland with Delacroix, who I'm convinced will continue the trend of 3-year-olds running well and winning this big race. Aidan O'Brien's record in it is obviously absolutely fantastic as well, and I just think he has all the attributes here. Obviously, yes, he's the younger horse, but he gets weight because of that, and the fact that, you know, we're coming towards the back end of the season. As far as I'm convinced, he's a very mature, clearly very able horse, and I'm convinced he'll go really, really well here. I think that form of Ombudsman is pretty strong, and I just think he'll be a cut above the rest in here. The next best, I'm going to put Room Service up, and whilst I think I might need a bit of rain at Donny, if we don't get it, I'm not too perturbed either about his chances each way against Shadow of Light. I can see him in the frame here for Kevin Ryan. He loves the track. I suppose the step up to 7 this season, he's been behind Quinault over that. I think he'll handle it. If he doesn't manage to get his head in front or run particularly well, I'll be backing him again for the Air Gold Cup later in the season. But I'm convinced he can make the 3. And then finally, my long shot. I suppose this week it's fairly inevitable where I have to go. I'll head to the Portland, and I'm going to have to give my shout out to Andrew Balding's horse, Tropical Storm, that I hope can, despite being drawn poorly, get across a little bit, pick up a bit of that pace, sitting behind and run really well. I think he's due a decent run. If you go back through the form book, I think he has got enough to suggest that a mark of 99 could be workable if he gets the breaks as you need. With 5 places on the race, I'll put him up each way.
There you go. Then I'm also going to the Portland for my long shot. But I'm pleased, though, that we are agreeing, Sam, with our naps again this week. It served us well last weekend, so I am really hoping that Sam and I can agree again with Delacroix. And I am abandoning Anne Marty. It is killing me to do so, but I am with Delacroix, though. The fact he has that course and distance winning form to his name previously with those Derby trials. Of course, it is a shame that we don't get Ombudsman here, and the fact that these two are going to be, well, likely to be butting heads, at least on paper, looking at this race a few weeks ago. So it is a shame we don't get that matchup, but I do think that those two are the best 10 furlong horses about at present. So if one of them doesn't go, I'm going to be siding with the other one. So it's made my job easier in that sense. So Delacroix at 5-4 is my nap. 10 Bob Tony, 9-2 in the Group 2 Park Stakes over the 7 furlongs. As I say, I haven't really got my 7 furlong specialist as such to be able to side with in the race this time around. But 10 Bob Tony probably fits that mould more so than others. Shadow of Light undoubtedly is the classiest horse in the race, but I still just don't know exactly what trip he wants. So a bit of cut in the ground is important to 10 Bob Tony. He'll be getting that this weekend, and hopefully he can keep on improving on the back of that gelding operation. And then Aberama Gold in the Portland Heritage Handicap is going to be my long shot as well. He is ever so consistent, ever so likeable, bidding for a hat-trick in the Portland, hoping that he can go better than he did in this race last year, when admittedly only 15th off the same mark of 87 as well. But he's coming here in better form, £4 rise to contend with his success last time out. And for a horse that is of an age now, of significant runs to his name, he's still holding his form very well. But that is everything from us on this week's show. So a big thank you to Tracey for joining me in the studio. Sam, thank you so much for joining us from your holiday in Santorini in the cave itself. So we'll be looking forward to seeing you back on these shores very soon. Best of luck with your bets this weekend, and we'll be back next week to preview more of the weekend action.